If we have memorized our punctuation rules, this question is super easy. You can be totally confident with what you pick here. So the first thing, maybe the easiest punctuation rule to memorize on the SAT, involves semicolons. The rule with a semicolon is that in order to use one, you need a complete sentence before the semicolon and a complete sentence after the semicolon. Well, that is exactly what a period does, right? It separates two complete sentences. So choices B and D are the same. We see this many, many times on SATs where we have a choice that is identical, except it has a semicolon and it has a period. For SAT purposes, those choices can be treated as the same thing, and we can eliminate them both because they both can't be right. They're the same. So they must both be wrong, and there we go. We're down to a 50-50 shot right away. Now, the other rule that we should remember is about how colons work in choice C. For colons, we do still require a complete sentence before the colon, but we have some flexibility with what comes after it. We could include a complete sentence. We could also just have one word. Typically, we associate colons with lists. So the second part isn't really going to help us determine whether or not a colon is useful here. But the first part, there's a clear rule. It needs to be a complete sentence that could be ended with a period. So in this case, we don't really have that. To counter the rise of fast food and fast life, notice how my voice kind of goes up at the end? That's because this isn't a sentence. This is the intro to a sentence, and we're building up towards something, much more concrete, a more main idea. And so this fails the test. This is not a complete sentence, so we would not be able to use a colon here. In fact, that's what makes it kind of similar to situations you've seen before, is this is just an intro clause. You've written plenty of sentences that follow a similar format, and so we would just use a comma to attach this intro clause, this incomplete idea, to the main idea. The main sentence here is, a cohort of chefs, journalists, and sociologists spearheaded a slow food movement. That's my sentence. The part before that yellow is an extra clause that we're attaching with a comma. The part after the yellow is also an extra clause that we're attaching with a comma. That's what commas do. Yes, a comma sometimes means a pause, but more importantly, a comma means a shift in the sentence, a breaking point where something is kind of being added in or added on, and so we want to think in those terms about complete sentences and incomplete sentences. That way, when we end up picking a comma, we know we are right. And in this case, though, it's not just that, it's also that all of the other punctuation marks we know are wrong. This is the benefit of memorizing the grammar rules. That way you have confidence when you come up on punctuation questions, and you're not just picking whatever you would write. You have real reasons, and you can support your answer much better.